Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new edition of the Word of the Day podcast. My name is Jamie Silva. I am your host, and as I sit here in the cozy confines of the RAV4 studios, I see that the next item on my to-do list is to pleasantly explain another useful word to you all. And here to help me do so, please welcome to the program another talented voice actor, Ginny. Ginny, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, today's word is the verb commiserate, which I would say means to take comfort in shared misfortune. Basically, to be sad or chagrined or frustrated, but together alongside at least one other person. And quickly here, the etymology of commiserate. It comes from the Latin commiserare, meaning to pity, bewail, or lament. And this word, in turn, comes from the Latin term miser, an adjective meaning wretched, which is where we get the words miserable and misery.
Okay, let's compare our definition to the online one, which goes like this. Quote, to express or feel sympathy or pity, to sympathize, unquote. I am not sure I like this for two reasons. First, I would say commiseration is about more than feeling bad for someone, which is basically sympathizing with them. Rather, it's about feeling bad with them because you also are suffering or have suffered from the same thing.
Yeah, I would agree with this. Like, Ginny, if you walked into a lamppost, sure, I can sympathize. I can be like, oh man, that looked pretty painful. Would you like an ice pack? But that's not really commiserating because we didn't experience that accident together. So I don't know what it feels like. However, if you and I both walk into lampposts, then we can commiserate.
Shared misfortune indeed. The second quibble we have with the online definition is that it allows for simply feeling sympathy or pity for someone without expressing it. But commiseration is inherently expressive. Sympathy would still be sympathy if it were just felt inside, but commiseration demands some sort of expression or communication between the two sufferers.
So going back to the little scene we just laid out, we don't just feel bad for each other after we both get attacked by rogue lampposts. Rather, we express our mutual suffering. We convey it to each other. Verbally in this case, though a knowing nod or a shared eye roll would work just as well, assuming this sort of thing happened to us all the time, and we didn't need to actually say anything in order to be understood. But even that is a level above just feeling bad for someone.
Yeah, nonverbal expression definitely counts. Also, our experiences don't have to match up precisely in order for us to commiserate. Like maybe I walked into a lamppost right then, whereas you walked into one last week, or you're just like in pain for some other reason, or you just really hate lampposts. As long as we have some kind of commonality and a shared experience of some kind, past or present, that connects to this painful incident, we can commiserate. And hopefully we didn't both just walk into lampposts at the same time, because that would definitely mean there's something wrong with us.
Let's do another example. Let's say you're waiting in a long line outside a wildlife-themed shoe store on a hot afternoon for a chance to snag a limited edition pair of Bare Jordans. And the person behind you is like, I feel like we haven't moved for hours. And you're like, this is so dumb. These shoes better be worth it. And then both of you shake your heads and exchange determined grimaces. Well, guess what? The two of you just commiserated. And now you feel better, re-energized, and more eager than ever to get your hands on those Bare Jordans, in particular the ones with the little koala stitched on the sides.
Right. So interesting. Expressing the boredom and frustration you're feeling is comforting, even though technically nothing has changed. The line is still long, the afternoon is still hot, Bare Jordans are still just as rare and cool and not yours yet. All of that is the same. But because you've established that you aren't suffering alone, the burden is lightened somehow. It becomes more bearable.
Bearable, yes, exactly. And that's what commiseration is all about. When you're together with someone in some unhappy circumstance, expressing and acknowledging that fact can soothe pain, sorrow, anger, or other unpleasant feelings. Humans, you see, have this deep need to connect with other humans, and bad experiences tend to bring people together. Although I should point this out here as well, commiseration doesn't mean you just feel totally better and everything is back to normal and full contentment is restored. Rather, it can sometimes have the opposite effect, where like someone saying, yes, you're right, you do have it rough, and I do too, and we do well to complain about it. Like, this can also solidify or even intensify those negative feelings.
Right, because now those feelings are validated. They have this external approval that gives them permission to exist. But still, I think this feels better than just enduring alone, because now you feel like you're part of a group that is going through or went through the same thing as you and is similarly displeased.
With this encouragement, this kind of emotional solidarity, your distress might build or last even longer, but at least now it's shared. We're not saying this is healthy, by the way. In fact, it really probably isn't. But it's one interesting facet of commiseration, and one I think you see a fair amount of. In a similar vein, you might have heard the saying, misery loves company. This describes a situation where someone is sad or miserable for whatever reason, and they're secretly glad when other people have to suffer too. And in fact, they might even intentionally set out to make other people sad. This would be like accidentally dropping your ice cream cone on the ground, and then knocking someone else's out of their hand, so you aren't the only one to go without.
That can get sinister pretty fast if it turns into like emotional manipulation where one person is all sulky and then they try and stop anyone else around them from being cheerful, like an amateur Grinch or something. As Calvin of Calvin and Hobbes says, nothing helps a bad mood like spreading it around.
Now, even though this stems from the same impulse, that is, seeking the comfort found in shared misfortune, I don't think it quite counts as commiseration, because rather than one person voluntarily entering into another's experience and saying, yes, I know how you feel, I've experienced this too, the misery loves company idea is about forcibly dragging others down into your distress, which isn't nearly so communal and certainly isn't comforting. But this just goes to show that misery loves company so much that if it can't get company by invitation, sometimes it'll try to get it by force.
Yeah, using misery as a weapon is different than commiserating. And also, commiserating isn't always about pure sadness and cruel misfortune. It can also refer to just a common struggle, even a really mundane one.
True. It's not just, oh, this awful thing has happened to you and me both. Why don't we go half and half on a box of Kleenex and cry about it? Rather, it could be that this thing that we're both engaged in or have experienced is really difficult or annoying. And while the actual burden of it isn't lifted when we gripe about it together, the psychic burden kind of is. Now, while you may not say commiserate very often, I'd wager that you do it all the time. Everyone does. Commiseration, you see, is the foundation of a ton of casual interactions, especially super short ones, like quick hellos, to the point that commiseration is practically a type of pleasantry. It's like, hey, how's it going? I'm annoyed. Oh, so are you. Okay, cool. I'll catch you later. For an example of this, think of how, like in a workplace on Mondays, a lot of early morning coworker greetings go a bit like this. Hey, how's it going?
It's Monday.
I know. Mondays. It's the worst.
This weekend just flew by.
Sure did.
And then we would both just go about our Monday business feeling just a little better because we commiserated about our mutual hatred of Mondays.
Yeah, and you don't even have to know the person really in order to employ this little conversational gambit. Mondays affect us all, see, so griping about them is probably the fast track to common ground, even with strangers. And really, when you think about it, a lot of office small talk is like this, in that it revolves almost entirely around what day of the week it is. Each day, you see, has its own feelings associated with it. Everyone knows what those feelings are and how to express them in short sentences when given the relevant prompts. And the common thread running through each of them is that nobody likes to work, we don't want to be here, and we're all just trying to survive till the weekend.
It's basically a daily commiseration ritual with a little hope thrown in at the end on Friday. After Monday, the rest of the week goes kind of like this. Hey. Can't believe it's only Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
Tuesday is the new Monday.
Then the next day.
Happy Wednesday.
Yes, hump day.
Yeah, the week's half done.
All right. Curtain opens next day. Hey, how's your Thursday going?
Hey, not bad, thanks. It's almost Friday.
I can smell the weekend from here.
Me too. Can this week just be over already?
I know, right? And then the grand finale. Hey, how you doing?
Well, it's Friday, so I'm doing great.
Yeah, Friday, finally.
I am so ready for the weekend.
Same here, so ready. Okay, gotta go. Many happy returns of the Friday to you.
Thanks, yeah, tell your folks I say Friday.
Awesome, yeah, sounds Friday, see ya.
Friday.
Now, we gotta clarify. None of this necessarily means that the parties to these conversations actually hate their jobs. Not at all. They could be basically content. But even so, office etiquette requires that you absolutely not say so in these situations. Like, if someone says, Mondays, and in reply, you're like, actually, I relish the opportunity to be at the office today, because this job is very rewarding, and I am optimistic about management's long-term strategic vision for the company. So, for me, Mondays are an occasion for just renewed delight and determination.
Obviously, this would be wildly unbecoming. And even though you dialed it up here for effect, the point is, the polite thing to do when someone complains about Mondays is to agree that they sure are lame, you also are waiting breathlessly for the weekend, etc.
Right. The other person is looking for some solidarity, some company in their discontent, and you just gotta be there for them.
This principle applies not just to this down with Mondays situation, but also to commiseration in general. One big hurdle, though, sometimes you actually don't have the experience the other person is trying to commiserate with you about.
Yeah, like, let's say you, by some natural gift, aren't allergic to, like, spring pollen or summer pollen or cut grass or hay or any of the other things that people with seasonal allergies suffer from. These folks, very understandably, commiserate pretty frequently about how bad their allergies are. Again, it's a bonding thing, a communal thing. But if they mention it to you, it's very bad manners to be like, well, I don't get allergies, so, thank goodness for that, am I right? No.
Yeah, no. But at the same time, saying you know exactly what they're going through, because you also can't stop sneezing, that probably won't fly either. So yeah, probably your best bet is just to sympathize somehow, which, as we mentioned earlier, doesn't require actually experiencing or having experienced the same thing.
Okay, let's now get some examples of how to use commiserate in everyday conversation or writing. Example number 1. After their crushing defeat on a called third strike and caught stealing double play, the baseball team commiserated over what they alleged was terrible umpiring.
Example number 2. Jane, pulling on a pair of mittens, a parka, and a Russian fur hat, commiserated with Margaret over the frigidity of the office temperature defaults.
Example number 3. Esther winced and hopped gingerly to a nearby chair. Having also suffered the effects of dropping a bowling ball on his foot, Glenn could have commiserated with her, but he was focused on picking up at least a spare in this crucial 9th frame. And that is it for the examples, and I think that'll do it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and Ginny, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, those were some serious technical difficulties.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. The mic falls on me a lot too when I'm recording.
Yeah, well, now I really feel your pain.
Yeah, definitely grab one of our Word of the Day ice packs on your way out. Anyway, folks, as always, we want to thank you very much for listening to this program. We hope you like it, and we hope that if you do, you'll share it with your friends and family. And as one final way to impress on you just how useful today's word is, Ginny and I will close with a list of things you often hear people commiserating about. And importantly, these aren't just things that people complain about. This is the slightly narrower set of things that a large chunk of people have actually experienced, and thus can truly commiserate about. Ready?
Ready. Traffic.
Airport layovers.
Sports team losses.
Rent, especially in the Bay Area.
Tax season.
Daylight savings time.
Being tired / busy / stressed.
Being hot.
Being cold.
Being hungry.
Being hangry.
And then, maybe about 20 minutes later, eating too much.
The ending of that one TV show.
Autocorrect.
The fact that the rum is always gone.
What?
That's never happened to you?
Not that I recall, no.
What do you have, like an endless rum fountain?
No, I mean, I don't think this happens to very many people. I think it's mainly just a Captain Jack Sparrow problem.